Hey, this is Scott Weaver. I'm answering Chapter 1 question, how have recent historical events affected the course of research in organizational psychology, and give an example of the resulting outcome. Uh, I chose to use COVID-19 as a recent historical event as it has been a major outcome for what has happened in the past year and a half. And is continuing to happen as different variants happen, as different employers choose to not allow employees to come back to work, and as we understand how COVID is affecting everybody. So, organizational psychology needs to come in and look at it and go, hey, here's where we are, here's where we need to be, because organizations got caught flat footed. They just didn't know what to do. They had to shut down. They had no plan. They never planned on being shut for a year and a half. So telework was forced. And a lot of people of the older generation don't know how to operate a lot of high-end electronics, and they never plan to. This is also forcing people to have to use their internet connection, have to use their plans, cell phones, their hardware, software, which can't connect to a network outside of a VPN, which, if you didn't know that, you wouldn't know how to do it. So it's something that has to be set down and discovered and worked with to help organizational psychology and help people figure it all out. Um, which a lot of people, so helping them figure it out is a lot of people don't want to go back to work. They they want to redesign their work. They want that non-work and work interface in their life all the time. They want to be home because they feel it is best for their mental, physical, family health. So this is something that's segueing into the Great Resignation, as we're calling it, that people are just quitting jobs because the financial incentives are not enough. They're being forced to work hours that they want to work. As two of the major factors, there's other sub factors, but those are some of the bigger ones, which is leading to an economic recession, high levels of unemployment, um, and organizational psychology can come in and look at it and go, hey, we can't pay you $30 an hour to work at McDonald's, but we can offer this. We can offer these incentives, these programs, these family work things. Obviously, you can't telework at McDonald's, but you could telework as the manager if you didn't need to be on site. There's different availabilities for every job, and that would be something that we would be good to come in. We, as an industrial organizational psychologist, would be to come in and say, "Hey, here are some plans." Because right now the results of COVID is just a mess. A lot of people are having a hard time figuring it all out. Lastly, I would say if the Great Resignation doesn't get fixed, we're going to be seeing a lot of inflation because of the lack of people who are willing to work, or we're going to be seeing a technological uprise, which, replacement of workers with automation. Um, even with the younger people joining the workforce, you're only going to have one person to take care of all the automation, and you're not going to have a lot of workers on an assembly line. So that might be something that people need to think about as well, because employers will find a way, and we just have to work together to figure it all out. So the Chapter 3 question describes socialization process for graduate students in my program. Is the program successful in socializing newcomers and creating job embeddedness? Um, it's difficult to answer for me because I'm not attending in person. I'm obviously an online student, but using the online student has been unique. It's been a challenging. It hasn't been too difficult. I've honestly had worse. Um, So going through the steps, history, I chose Liberty because of its history. It's a 50-year school. It's been doing well. It's um, it's a very highly rated school everywhere you look. The language wise, nothing has really been different. Everyone uses typical language, which is easier to understand, so not a problem. Um, the values definitely were in line with mine, integrating Christian faith into my studies so that I can teach people about the Christian faith and I can teach people about or use industrial organizational psychology to help businesses, or in my plan as to be part of a work development, organizational development team. Um, so the people, as I've said, have been helpful. Once I applied to the school, I was able to receive a lot of phone calls. Everyone was willing to help. IT called, financial, military assistance, everyone called to help out. So it was great. They helped me complete everything, finish enrolling. Every time enrollment comes up, they call to help. Every time FAFSA comes up, they call to help. So they've been great. They've been warm. They've been very Christianly to help out in the processes. Um, Liberty also offers online noon covers, classes, and helpful classes, assignments, videos, anything to kind of help out. Like there's supplemental classes, which are very helpful in the statistics class. Because I'm not very good at statistics, but I try to do it, and I use that class to definitely help out. Um, Even with other people, teachers are very quick to answer questions. I've had questions about assignments, and I've been able to ask, which has been extremely helpful when I'm not able to understand something. Um, Organizational goals and values. I used values earlier, but I work as a full. I work full time, 40+ hours a week, and I had needed a school that would understand that I cannot dedicate all of my time to just school. As much as I'd love to be a college student. I need to work as well. Got to pay for my life. You know, Cars, kids, pets, everything. Um, Again, with values, I forgot about the school's values are similar to mine, and integrity. You know, do your schoolwork, do it right, do it the way you need to. Caring, the hard work. I was impressed, honestly, that um, in the socialization process, I learned that you can only get 2 C's on a degree, which is, you know, which is hard. It makes you work. It makes you get up there and figure out what to do. So with the goal of integrating Christianity, I can use it to implement uh, ways to apply this to work. Even in my current situation, I'm not in industrial organizational or HR, but I'm in a different kind of group, but I can help everyone understand. So far, as I've said, the socialization process has been pretty good, for online. Um, makes me want to um, embed this into my job. I understand where this can go, as in just this class. So it's been very helpful. One last thing I wanted to add to the chapter 3 question was performance proficiency. Clearly defined expectations times have been very clear, and this is when they're due, this is what is due. There have been a few mishaps of what needs to be done, what doesn't. As in this class right here, we were asked to do 3-minute videos, but the minimum on the sheets on the instructions are 2-minute videos. So which one actually trumps the other is a good question, but I don't mind doing more, just to make sure everything gets done correctly. And not all instructions are always clear. That could just be me, it could be a couple students, but a little more clarification on things could be helpful in the integration process. Chapter 4 question: how can an organization reduce or prevent work-family conflict? I would say a basic start is understanding that people have other commitments to family, but not just work. It's I have a life. Everyone has a life outside of their work. Nobody's one life. Here's another basic understanding: is nobody's one life is more important than the other. In that, if I've got a family with 5 kids and Joe over here has a single guy who doesn't want a family, treat him the same, because that's going to cause problems. It's going to cause conflict. It may not be work and this person over here conflicting. It may be this person and this person conflicting, or this person conflicting with work, saying, "Hey, why are you treating somebody better than me?" Such as time off, more time off, lunch, or offering more programs or something. They need to find ways to give them everyone organizational support. Um, that's another way they can prevent that a workplace can prevent conflict is organizational support, is work family policies, benefits such as helping employees perform work, non-work roles, parenting, self-care, um, on-site, um, on-site daycares, on-site, child education, um, even a gym. There's times that I would love to take an hour off and go to the gym, and for my lunch, go to the gym and be healthier. Because outside of my life, I'd have to go to the gym, go to the leave work, go to the gym, and it conflicts with my work family time. It conflicts with my school time as well. That's something I want to be able to do, but I also can't. Um, Another thing that organizations do is redesign the job to fit employee needs. As I mentioned in an earlier question, COVID is causing all sorts of problems. So telework, figuring out how to make this work, offering the ability to telework if your job is so capable of it would be one thing. In the event of telework, people could do job sharing, where two part-time employees share the duties of a full-time job. I could have half a project, somebody else could have the other half, and we could just share the job. What needs to be done. Um, Another very important aspect in this is the organization needs to train their supervisors to be able to be supportive. You know, they can help by recognizing family work issues, help support the employee by offering creative strategies to help them balance their lives. If a supervisor sees somebody struggling, they can say, "Hey, come with me. What can we do to help you? What's going on at home? Do you need anything? Do you need time off? Do you need this?" I understand the job has to get it done, but their employees are their people. They can't do the job without their employees. Um, when it comes to benefits, explain and show that um, the job, the benefits will not affect the employee, will not affect employer ratings, performance ratings, any kind of rating that somebody might worry about. That is something that I've personally heard of, is that people are like, well, what if I use this program? Is it going to affect how the supervisors see me? And how are they going to be like, oh, you can't always use the daycare program, or you can't always take time off work because they think it's going to affect their rating. Although it shouldn't, because that is something that organizations can do to reduce or prevent work family conflict, as well as the other things that I mentioned. All right, Chapter 5 question. Imagine you've been asked to develop a performance assessment for employee development. What techniques could you use to adequately evaluate employee performance as comprehensively as possible? A lot of the techniques listed were paper pencil tests, job skill tests, on-site, off-site, hands-on testing, high-fidelity simulations, symbolic simulations, task ratings, and global ratings. So in the first phase, what I would do, the first phase of an evaluation, I would make the employer's supervisors sit down, take a paper, pencil, or computer-based test, and examine the in-role and extra-role performances. In the in-role, they'd be assessed by looking at performance expectations are met. Are they doing the job that they were hired to do? Both the supervisor and the employees. So completing that's something like completing tasks efficiently, company standards, In the extra role performances, we'll look at non-task behaviors like helping other coworkers, encouraging teamwork, taking responsibility within the group, promoting creativity. That is something that's very important. Not everybody can just sit around and go, I don't know what to do. Somebody needs to step up and take that role. And that looks good on a person, to step up and do that. So that'd be a great part of an evaluation. Second part of the evaluation, take the test responses from the pen and paper or the computer based and analyze them and discuss it with supervisors and say, look, this is where you are in being a supervisor. Are you doing what you're supposed to do? Are you helping people understand what they need to do and help train from the top down in this simulation? After you talk to supervisors, managers, however you want to put it, a supervisor will meet with each employee to discuss their strengths and weaknesses. Say, here's where you are with this. You're great at being creative, but sometimes you're really shy and quiet, so we need you to step up and come out with more of those ideas. That would be a suggestion of ways to improve their weakest areas. And they can even promote classes. Hey, here's a speech class. Here's a training class on how to do hands-on with computer-based programs. It's just something they can do. A supervisor can suggest that and even lead them to getting that and even schedule it for them. That's one way to show they really care, is to schedule that class for them. If their weaknesses are in underdevelopment, supervisor can meet with them periodically and help them improve, as I used the other scenario where the employee is really quiet. Let's say they send them to a speech class and they come back and they say, okay, I understand now. I understand I need to speak up. Still a little shy, so I'm working on it. Then they could just constantly go and say, hey, you're improving, or hey, we need to maybe reevaluate doing this class instead and do something else. And maybe, send you to a speech therapist as a suggestion. Employees, so supervisors can also explain that higher performance leads to better compensation, better benefits, whatever motivates an employee. Find that employee's motivation and use it to help them. Lastly, this one's outside of the work-related, but still work-related, is encourage downtime behaviors such as good sleep, healthy eating, avoiding drugs and alcohol, and explain company plans and benefits that might help work with all those. Even if they're not plans through the company, they can be explained, used for the company, such as sending somebody to, say, hey, maybe if you want to eat healthier, this is somebody's really struggling to do it. Say, hey, maybe Weight Watchers will be in your benefit, or maybe this class will be in your benefit. Just anything to help would be a way to help with employee development, as those classes relate to absenteeism and downtime, maybe because they don't need to go to the hospital or they feel better. That's a couple ways it can be done to evaluate employee performance and encourage a little bit better. Chapter 6 was what are some possible organizational constraints and how can they lead to counterproductive behaviors. It was pointed out that unnecessary rules and regulations are a killer. And going back to what I said about COVID being a historical event at the moment, COVID is just, the rules and regulations are all over the place depending on where you go. For me, my workplace requires masks inside of buildings but not outside. But when I go into the military, they require all the time on base. So which one is it? Why are different areas? I get different areas have different numbers, but why are different areas different? Let's make it the same, because some people are just going to be confused by it. Let's say even within an organization, if one floor has rules and regulations that are different, then this one's going to be like, why are those people doing that? What's going on? it's going to become an issue. Recent observations at my workplace is I've got an employee who wants to work. Budget constraints are causing decreased ability to acquire new material, and COVID is also causing slower work production as the rules keep changing. When you have to be 6 feet apart from somebody, but you need to be working with them somehow, you're supposed to be wearing a mask. It makes it a little bit harder. So this decreased performance is causing counterproductive behaviors because of frustration. Um, he's he's taking it out on the equipment. He's sometimes equipment doesn't work and he gets upset. Sometimes it's just an aggression towards other people because um, he's just upset. He doesn't understand what's going on and wants everything to be better, but sometimes is thinking, hey, I'm upset, so I'm going to take it out on everyone else. I guess he's not thinking that, he's just doing it, which is an understandability of frustration, but shouldn't be done. Eventually, it's going to cause possible employee to request to work less. As I said, we work 40 plus hours a week, so take less time in the overtime, which is going to cause the other part of our group to have to work harder, which is fine with me, but some people might get burned out. Eventually, they might quit as well. They might just go, you know what, I'm done. I'm not getting anything done. I just don't want to be here anymore. Another possibility is bad attitudes towards the job. Obviously, that's happening towards the customers. Let's say a customer comes and says, "Hey, what can you do? How can you, help us?" He's like, "I don't want to help you because I'm just going to complain instead." Same with managers. Managers, all they see is the complaining, and it's a counterproductive behavior to complain because it gets nothing done. There's a difference between complaining and vocally and clearly defining what needs to be done. So that is something that is very common organizational constraints. Is that we're just in my workplace, we're just having budget issues and it's causing problems and it's leading to counterproductive behaviors, and hopefully it can be fixed. As to make everyone happy and make the workplace more productive.